once again for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC 241 from the Honda Center in Anaheim, California, as Daniel Cormier tries to defend his UFC heavyweight champion against the guy he got the belt off in Stipe Miocic. They fought about 14 months ago, it would be, when this fight comes around. And yeah, interesting rematch. Couple of great fights before it. In fact, I really like the card. There's a lot of really good, well-matched fights on it. Coming off a really good card last week, 9-4. Did all right with my bets. So yeah, looking forward to this card, and hopefully I can keep a good run of predictions going. We get close to 200 likes. I've never had a video that's got a couple of hundred likes, so if we can maybe get that, anything over 100 is going to be great. But if you can like the video, hit the bell. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, and just come in here and join the chat and everything else that we've got. I appreciate every bit of support that I get from you guys. So yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of get into that, and I really do appreciate every bit of support that I get. I'm trying to think if there was anything that I really kind of... Oh, De Freitas. I thought De Freitas won that fight last night, personally, against Chris Gutierrez. That one's kind of sticking in my mind a little bit. But yeah, it happens sometimes. You get some that you win, sometimes that you lose, and that one I was on the unfortunate side. But there were some people there that said they had it for Gutierrez. I was more on the De Freitas side, but I did have a personal kind of opinion on that because I had money on it, but it's what it is. So yeah, we're going to get into this card here, and we're going to start off in the... I think it is the women's flyweight division, and this fight, oh my god. Like, I spent some of my Sunday evening sitting down and watching this fight and watching previous fights, and it's just like, what am I doing with my life? Sitting here watching Sabina Mazo against Shayna Dobson. I think you've got a 6-1 fighter in Sabina Mazo, and you've got a 3-2 in Shayna Dobson, and I'm just like, beforehand I was actually contemplating betting Sabina Mazo, and I'm like, when I started watching more of it, I was like, I cannot do that. I cannot bet on someone like this, where she pretty much got 30-27, I think, against Marina Moroz, got taken down. She's supposed to be a striker by trade. There was a lot of fights of her beforehand with nice kind of high kicks and so on. She kind of sets up. She's been 25 minutes, but Marina Moroz really just kind of had her way with her. Shayna Dobson, she's more of a striker. She fought Lauren Mueller. That was a little bit... it was a kind of closely contested fight. She had her moments in that fight. But ultimately she came out there and she got the win. So she got the loss, sorry. She beat Ariel Beck in her UFC debut, which was a little bit... Ariel Beck has no right even fighting under a UFC banner or whatever it may be. But she's a striker by trade, so you would think this one here is going to be a striking affair. Dobson in that fight with Mueller actually took Mueller to the ground. And she did throw some nice combinations. She kind of mixed up a little bit, but ultimately she did lose. I thought she lost that. Honestly, I should have a coin here, and I should flip a coin with these two, because I've really not got an interest in the fight. And I'll probably miss this one because I'll be at work, and I don't really mind missing this one because I will be at work. But yeah, I'll take Sabina Mazo. Not confident. This could kind of go either way. She has got a little bit more experience, or maybe it's pretty similar experience-wise, but I think this is going to be a closely contested fight on the feet. If one of them tries to mix it up, I think that might be a good thing for them. But ultimately, I'll go Sabina Mazo via a pretty kind of lackluster, maybe close-ish split decision, but not real confident in that pick, if I'm being honest. Bantamweight division with Ho Kang against Brandon Davis. If you've watched previous videos of mine, I'm a big admirer of Ho Kang. He went away for a long time. I was a big fan of his before he went in his military duty in Korea, and he's came back and he's looked decent, and he's returned to the kind of UFC, and I've always really been a big fan of Mr. Perfect. I think that fight he had with Shimizu and I think Tanaka was the fights before he went on his military duty, came back against Kira Kaneti. Did look a little bit rusty in the early parts of that first round. As the round kind of went on, you could start to see him get his flow back a little bit. And once this guy, he's a big guy, he's lengthy, he's got good width in his shoulders. So he's a big guy for the division. And he caught that triangle choke on Kaneti towards the end of that first round. Went to a very close split against Ricardo Ramos. That was a fight I think I bet him in that spot, and I thought I'd won that bet as well. but it was one of those fights where it was very, very close. Either way, it could have really went either way. And Ricardo Ramos got the split there, and then he came out there and just really ran through Ishihara, got a beautiful, beautiful submission in the first round, and he's very, very strong. He's that kind of awkward guy to face as well. Then you've got someone in Brandon Davis who made that cut down to 145, 135, I should say, and it kind of paid dividends against Randy Costa. But Randy Costa's a really inexperienced kind of fighter, and that really kind of showed as the fight went on. He had a good spell earlier on in the fight, but then as the fight kind of progressed, Brandon Davis really came into it a little bit more and looked a really, really fairly decent fighter. But again, it was against a Randy Costa. Before that, he had his Barzolas, Zabit. I don't see him winning that many fights in the UFC, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think at this division, with his, I think he's 5'10", he's going to be a biggish guy in the division, but I think he's got someone here in a similar size who's, I actually think he's stronger, Ho Kang, than what Davis is. I think Davis has the more flowing strikes. I think he has the better striking acumen, but I think once Ho Kang starts tying this guy up, I think he's got an advantage there. And especially if it goes to ground, and if you can keep it there for longer periods, I think he could catch a submission on Brandon Davis. And I'm fairly confident that he wins this fight. I'm kind of looking at maybe parlaying him up a little bit with somebody in this card. I've got like a potential bet list up that I really like the look of right now, but no bets that have been laid down as of yet. So yeah, I'm going to go Ho Kang with a submission. Probably in the third round. I'm going to go a late-ish one in this one. It could be a little bit back and forth early on, but I think Kang will come into it the longer the fight goes, so I've got him in that one there. Hannah Cifers against Jodie Esquibel's up next, and yeah, this could, I think this has the potential to be really, really a close stand-up affair. Jodie Esquibel's pretty much a 500 fighter in her career. I think she's like 6-5. She's not looked great in her UFC tenure. I bet her in that fight with Jessica Aguilar, and she went out there and she just did not perform at all. And Jessica Aguilar, when she's beating you, you know something's up, really. Especially 2018, when was it, 2018 that was. Jessica Aguilar's kind of been done for a little bit of time now. So then she had Angela Hill, where Angela Hill had too many tools on the feet, and she was just too good a striker. And that's what she's got. She's got a fairly decent output with her striking, but no real power behind it. Where I think that Hannah Cifers, she's got good output. She gets hit a lot. She keeps her head in the centre line, very, very hittable. But what I think she's got a bit of power. I think she's got a bit of pop in her shots, and that's something that Jodie Esquibel just does not have. And that's why I think that when they start exchanging, she'll start to feel the power of Hannah Cifers, who's actually coming off that win over Polyana Viana, who I kind of spoke about last week, and she got submitted in the first minute in that fight against Macedo. Didn't see that coming. But yeah, I struggle to see Jodie Esquibel kind of winning this fight. But if it's close in the striking realms, and Cifers doesn't land those biggest shots, which I think she will, then it could potentially be close. It's a fight I would never ever bet, especially Cifers. I think she's a massive favourite in this, like -250 or -265, I think I've seen earlier on today. No danger am I ever going to bet something like that. But I'm going to take Hannah Cifers. I think she's got the potential of maybe a TKO if she lands a fairly decent shot, but I think this is going to be back and forward striking affair where Hannah Cifers, in my opinion, is going to have the advantage. So I've got Hannah Cifers in that one there. Moving on to the prelims now, we've got Drakkar Klose against Christos Giagos. I want to give some massive props out to some people that went with Christos Giagos against Damir Hadzovic. I thought Damir looked in his pomp, was going to have a really good fight in that one, and Christos came out there and absolutely shut him down. So the people that went on and bet him at dog odds, props to you guys. That I thought was a really great bet. And I kind of realised halfway through that first round, I thought, oh, I'm losing my money here, definitely. And I had people tell me that I think you're making the wrong pick. That's how I saw things. So props to you guys. Very kind of similar matchup here. I think Drakkar can tie him up a little bit. I think Giagos is... I always worry about his gas tank, but it's maybe something that he's actually getting better at keeping together. In that fight with Damir Hadzovic, he mixed it up well, but he ultimately knew that his path to victory was through his takedowns, and he got, I want to say, 4 or 5 in that fight there. Passed guard a couple of times, but his striking was also better than Damir Hadzovic, and I did not see that either. So props to him. Drakkar Klose, a guy that's like Bobby Moffett last week, he's moved out of the MMA lab, so that's a big change for a guy who's predominantly been there for the majority of his career, and then he's moved on to Fight Ready with Eddie Cha, a kind of guy who, not spectacular, but will tie you up. I thought he looked all right in his fight with Bobby Green. Bobby Green was landing a lot of shots on him. He actually took him down, which kind of surprised me, and he passed guard a few times, but ultimately I think he did enough to kind of win that fight, even though he kind of got booed out of the building a little bit in that one. Did the same with Lando Venata, kind of started off a little slow, but tied him up, dirty boxing, clinched him up a little bit, and just really went through that. So that's kind of what he looks to do. That's what he really did against even like Devin Powell and the Diaz fight. He really just held them up and won through his kind of pressure, getting a couple of takedowns here and there. And that's something that he might struggle with against someone like Giagos, who's very kind of physical himself. I think the betting line, let me quickly check the betting line for this one and see where it's at. I think that the line, I wouldn't, like plus 180 on Giagos in a potential close fight, I wouldn't be too, I think that wouldn't be a bad bet. I can probably see that going up, maybe hitting close to plus 200 at some point. If you can get plus 200, then I think it's definitely worth a shot. Like I said, I think this one's going to be a close kind of tie-up affair, a lot of action against the fence, and ultimately I kind of see Drakkar Klose winning a close fight. I think Giagos is going to push him in some aspects of this fight, but yeah, gut feeling, and when I was watching it, I thought that Klose could potentially tie him up for longer periods of that fight and win the fight through that. But good fight. I'm looking forward to that one. But I've got Drakkar Klose for a decision. Bantamweight division, we've got Manny Bermudez against Casey Kenny. Another good fight. I had a lot of fun looking into this. Casey Kenny's a really solid fighter with a decent record, coming off a win over Ray Borg, which I think he deserved to get. But there was a 30-27 scorecard in there, which was a little bit, I was like, eesh, that's maybe not on. Ray Borg landed some big kind of takedowns on him. In fact, it was a hard fight for me to say that he won. It really, when you look at it, the more kind of damaging aspects of the fight were done from Ray Borg with his takedowns and kind of passing a few times. But Ray Borg was kind of getting let up in the feet, and Kenny looked fairly decent on his feet, which I quite liked. He got a couple of takedowns himself. He's overall a really good fighter, 12-1-1 record. And then, like, I think he's a lab guy, MMA lab guy, so I always like guys that come out of there because I think they're well trained, they're well taught, and they're usually very tough guys, like kind of Bobby Moffett. I thought he had a good fight last night. I know I picked Barzola, I actually bet Barzola, but when I went back and watched that fight again today, I think he was a little bit unlucky actually to lose that fight. So props to him. I know he's left and went to Fight Ready, but just when I thought the connection with MMA Lab and so on. But then you've got Manny Bermudez, who is just a complete wizard when he's got the opportunity to tie you up in any aspect. The fight you obviously seen that with would have been Albert Morales, where he came in there and he looked, I thought he looked okay in the first round. He tied him up a little bit, but you seen where he wants to get the fight. His striking, I think, is always going to be a work in progress. He knows where he's going to win majority of his fights. If he can get the fight to the ground, he looks deadly down there. But then you've got kind of inexperienced guy, especially in the Benito Lopez one. I know he comes from Team Alpha Male and they've got good jits guys, and especially with chokes and stuff like that. But that was like some next level things that he did in that one. Even the Davy Grant one. So he came in, came forward with a right hand, knocked him down. Once he started getting at the grappling transitions, he just locked up a triangle, was always making adjustments to it to try and get that submission. And like, he's even telling the ref, look, this guy's out, completely out. And it was a beautiful triangle choke. He went from the armbar to the triangle choke, and then he was trying to fix his hand. He was putting his hand behind the leg to try and get a little bit more of the submission in, and ultimately he got it. And that was a nasty submission. Then, like I say, in the Benito Lopez one, Benito's going to give you opportunities because he's very aggressive, but he's also a little bit sloppy. He's kind of open to being countered, and in those grappling aspects, he wasn't on the level what Manny Bermudez is here. Like I said, I just don't think he wants to do too much in the feet, does Manny Bermudez? But I think he's got some stuff there. That's what he needs to work on, in my opinion, because his ground game is there. He's one of those guys, once he ties you up, you are in danger. So you just have to disengage. Don't grapple with this guy. Try and keep it in the feet. But his forward pressure is very, very scary. And like I say, if he ties you up, you're in trouble. I had a lot of fun kind of watching back his fights, especially in the UFC, and some of Casey Kenny, who we've known for a while, coming through. I think he was in the Dana White Contender Series. He also missed weight last time, which is never great. So hopefully he comes back in here and makes the weight that he needs to. Great guy. Really had a good time with him in Liverpool last year. He was his fight fell through with David Grant initially, and he came and did a podcast, an event, and met some of the fans in Liverpool. Really top guy. He didn't have to do that, and he's got a good team around him. They were really accommodating and helped us out. But fight wise, I think if he gets it to the ground and he gets into some of these advantageous positions. Now, in saying that, with Casey Kenny, he got taken down, but he did very well to scramble, get back to his feet, and that's something he's going to have to do here. As soon as his backside hits the mat or he feels something from Manny Bermudez, then he has to get up and move, scramble very quickly. In saying that, Manny Bermudez looks like a guy that is very competent in scrambles, and if you just leave the slightest opportunity, especially the first 7.5 minutes of this fight, or a fight, he is going to catch you in something. He's a bit of a wizard. And I'm interested to see the kind of guys that are going to beat him. I think Kenny could fight him close here. I think he has to really get that respect off him first and really pressure him, and don't let Bermudez pretty much set the tone of the fight. So I'm going to go Manny Bermudez actually by submission. I think that he's just going to find a way to get that submission. But it'd be interesting if this was a little bit more of a striking affair, because I think Kenny's got some decent combination striking. I think it's definitely better than what Manny Bermudez is, but I think he's got that dangerous ground game that is just, if he ties you up and he gets an opportunity to get an arm, get a neck, he's on it quick and you're in deep trouble. So I've got Manny Bermudez there, and the lines came down actually to where Manny Bermudez -125. I would like that if I can get that a little bit closer. It might be a potential bet there. It's on my list of potential bets that I may look at before going into next week, because it is like early Monday morning, 1 a.m. over here in the UK. So I'll give that a little bit before I go and maybe start making bets. But I've got Manny Bermudez via submission in that one there. Next up, staying in the bantamweight division, we've got Raphael Assuncao against Cody Sandhagen. So you've kind of got like old school and Rafi Assuncao here against the kind of new breed in Cody Sandhagen, who's looked nothing but spectacular in his UFC tenure, if I'm being honest with you. Thought his fight with Lineker was close. I kind of gave Lineker an edge there, but then I bet Lineker, and maybe I've said that a couple of times already where I've been on the other end of it, and maybe I thought he won, but when I went back, I could see why Sandhagen got the nod in that fight there. Very big for the division, 5'11", really good reach, really athletic. Really kind of, you just have to be careful. He kind of doesn't really stop. He's got a great gas tank, and he's just a guy that I think that is, the more he gets into these bigger caliber fights, he's going to be a really tough guy to face going forward. And then you've got the perennial contender in Assuncao, who's coming off a pretty devastating loss to Marlon Moraes, where he gets stopped very early. Pretty much a low output guy, but very dangerous, and he is a master of winning close rounds, close fights. Like he did with Rob Font, he kind of did well with his striking there. His striking's actually progressed really well. I remember noticing that in the Stalin fight, and coming forward even in the Moraes fight, the Lopez fight. His striking is definitely getting better, and he's just a competent fighter everywhere the fight goes, and he's a dangerous fighter wherever the fight goes. He could latch a submission up, he could position him with his wrestling, get takedowns and so on, and he uses, like, he's got some really good timed takedowns. He showed that in the Rob Font fight, but I don't know whether I think he could get takedowns here. on Sandhagen, but I can see Sandhagen popping back up really, really quickly. And I think what I like from Sandhagen here in this matchup is that I think he's going to make Assuncao up his output a little bit, and that's going to leave openings for Sandhagen. I'm seeing people completely write off Assuncao, saying he's done. That's going to be him. He's just going to be a gatekeeper. And this, to be fair, you could be right because with the gatekeeping statement, because I kind of see him getting another title shot at his age. I don't think so. We'll say 37 years old. He's going to have to put up a serious run to maybe get into that title contention again. And then you've got the new breed here in Sandhagen, who I really do love his output. I thought he obviously got Mario Bautista, who had a great win last time out. But that Lineker fight, he landed a lot of strikes, and when you're absorbing the kind of power strikes that you get from John Lineker, that says a lot about your conditioning and everything else. But he's been fantastic in his 4 wins in the UFC. But this is a big step up. Well, Lineker's a good fight, but for a consummate, all-around good professional, Raphael Assuncao is kind of as tough as they come. So we're going to see where Sandhagen really is here. I like him in the fight. I think it's got the potential to be a really close fight, just a typical Assuncao fight, where if the rounds are close and he fights, makes the rounds close, then it could become a little bit sketchy. It's not a fight I overly want to bet, and I don't think I will bet it, but I'm interested in watching because Sandhagen's making he's went from Arnett to Alcantara to Bautista, who came in short notice for Lineker, beat Lineker, and now he's got that kind of perennial top 5 guy in Assuncao, who's just a tough out for anybody. But I've got him to win this fight here via I've got him by decision. Sorry, I was just looking at my list there, what I had, but I've got him by decision in that one there. And moving on to the main fight of the prelims here, we've got Clay Collard making his UFC return against Devonte Smith, the very, very explosive, athletic Devonte Smith. Clay Collard, I remember this dude. I actually, a good friend of mine told me, look, I've heard this matchup. I know who the replacement is against Devonte Smith. Don't say anything. And he said Clay Collard's like, Clay Collard's like, no shit, no way. Like, he's been out of the UFC for coming on 3-4 years, I want to say. And like a herky-jerky guy, high output, weird angles, throws a lot of strikes. Had come into his UFC debut against Max Holloway of all people, beat Alex White convincingly. Then he lost to a fairly close split to Diego Trator, lost to Gabriel Benetiz, who I don't think there's any, especially on the Benitez side. I think Benitez is a really tough fighter, solid fighter as well. But a herky-jerky style, but he is open to getting hit with shots. When like in saying that, he was facing like Max Holloway 5 years ago, where he really hadn't come into his pomp of being like one of the most elite fighters we've got in the sport right now. But lost in the 3rd round there, got taken out, but still, to see he's been in there with a champion like that, it's only going to help him, I suppose. He's been boxing very recently. I think he's been fighting like every month. He's been going between MMA to boxing, MMA boxing, and I don't think he's won a boxing match off the top of my head, looking at his record. His last 2 wins over Lucas Montoya and Randall Wallace. Randall Wallace is probably a guy you've heard me talk about before. He's a guy who is probably, if you look at his record, he's got a lot of UFC vets on his record there from the kind of West Coast. And I think he is a California guy, is Collard. And he's got the call to come in here on short notice against Devonte Smith. Devonte Smith has looked nothing but an absolute bruiser in his UFC tenure, from being on the Contender Series to his fights in the UFC now, where he's so fast, he's got beautiful combination striking, knocked out Julian Rosa in the first, I want to say a couple of minutes, I think it was, off the top of my head. Did the exact same towards the end of round 1 against Dungil Ma. Was just too quick and too powerful. And this is your new breed of fighters that are coming through, where too quick, too powerful. I think you need a solid grappler against someone like Devonte Smith. Clay Collard, I don't think is going to want to wrestle with him here. He's going to initiate in the brawl, and I think the faster, more devastating striker is Devonte Smith. So I cannot pick Clay Collard in this spot. Happy to see him back, because I think if you match him up right, you will get fun fights. But Devonte Smith for me is going to knock him out in the first couple of rounds there, so I've got him to win there. Moving on to the main card, we've got Derek Brunson against Ian Heinisch. A lot of love for Ian Heinisch here. I can see why. He has turned himself into a really solid addition to the UFC middleweight class, to say the least. And he's cashed as an underdog on numerous occasions. I think I bet him last time out against Antonio Carlos Jr., where he did get taken down, but he got back to his feet. And once he got back to his feet, he really punished Antonio Carlos Jr. like to the point where Carlos Jr. was like grimacing with the shots that he was landing. He was also a guy, I think he swept Carlos Jr. He got a couple of passes on Carlos Jr., which was a little bit surprising. But he's a guy that is going to fight for your money, especially at dog odds. There was a line a couple of days ago, he was minus 138, and I thought that was a botch on the UK lines, and it actually wasn't. I wasn't going to bet it because I thought, right, if I go in here and bet money on it, I might get that taken off, and I just didn't think, but it was actually a legitimate line. So if you got that minus 138 from the UK, props to you. But Derek Brunson, I think it's just, he's dangerous, don't get me wrong, because he's so wild with his striking. He's obviously got power. We've seen all those knockouts that he had beforehand with Uriah Hall, Ducao, Sam Alvey, Dan Kelly, Machida. But then he made the step up against the elites and your Jacarees and obviously your Adesanyas, and he got taken out in the first round. And then he went to a decision with Elias Theodorou, which he's really, his takedowns and his passing game and his pressure game really kind of won him that fight. But it's not a big feather in your cap beating Elias Theodorou, in my opinion. I just think Ian Heinisch is going to want to win this fight more. I know that Brunson's went to Hard Knocks 365, doing a little bit of work with Henry Hoof down there. The gym's thriving. I'm trying to think what his path to victory is. Is he going to try and knock out Heinisch? I'm not sure he can. I think that he's maybe going to mix up, try and wrestle a little bit. I think Heinisch is just a dog, man. Once you get him to the ground, he will try and pop back up. He will find a way to get back to his feet. I think he's going to be like the chalk, like the mush this week. I think everybody's going to be on Ian Heinisch in some aspects. I don't think he's a bad parlay piece. Like I say, he will fight for your money. But I've got Ian Heinisch here. I've got him to win via a decision, potentially a TKO if he can really pressure Derek Brunson late in the fight. But I've got Ian Heinisch to win that one there. Where are we? Gabriel Benetiz against Sodiq Yusuf. As much as I love Gabriel Benetiz, I don't like this matchup for him against Sodiq Yusuf. I really don't. I was, earlier on when I was watching the fights, right, how can he beat this guy? How can he beat Yusuf? Now, Yusuf sometimes stands a little bit straight up there where you can maybe get him with leg kicks and so on. Shimon Moraes got him with a few hard, absorbed leg kicks in that one. But ultimately, all it takes is one opportunity for Sodiq Yusuf to really come in here. And if he can land something substantial on Benitez, I think he will just put him out. I think that Shimon Moraes has got a very kind of low output and he picked his shots well, but I think Yusuf did very well with kind of counteracting that with the shots he was picking as well. That's a tough fight. I thought that was actually a more tougher fight than this one is. Not taking anything away from Gabriel Benitez. I think he's a really fun fighter. I've spoken about him a few times already here. But we've seen him, Gabriel Benitez, knocked out in the past by Fili, like in the first round there. And we've seen that Fili can do that. He did that to Shimon Moraes, and Shimon Moraes hasn't really been taken out by anybody. So yeah, really solid striker. I talk about this every single time with Benitez, but absolutely humongous leg kicks. He works them so well. He sets them up so well. He attacks the right spots, the kind of lower calf, the lower leg, I should say, right above the ankle bone. And that just demobilises guys really, really quickly. And I've seen in a few fights where Yusuf, he will stand strong on that leg and he could get hit with something like that. But I think if he ever tries that, I think that Yusuf's going to be able to counter him really, really quickly. And that's my kind of worry there. I think he's far better with his hands. I don't think he has to worry about that really too much with Benitez. But yeah, I mean, Benitez coming off a couple of wins. Jason Knight, Humberto Bandenay. I know I picked Humberto Bandenay last night. bad, but still, a win's a win. Knocked him out with the slam. Don't see too many of them nowadays. And say what you want about Jason Knight, but he is a tough guy there, and he really bludgeoned him up with the feet with his combination striking there. I'm going to pick Sodiq Yusuff. I think he's going to catch a counter on Gabriel Benitez, and I think he's going to knock him out in the first, potentially the first round. So I've got Sodiq Yusuff here to make a big impact on his kind of UFC pay-per-view debut, to say the least. So yeah, Yusuff via TKO there. This fight here, oh my god. I've just actually been watching, if you're a follower of mine on Twitter, you've seen that I was speaking about how intrigued I am by this match. Yoel Romero against the Reza Borrachina, Paulo Costa. Two guys I really like. I love Yoel Romero. I really do. I love watching his fights. I like the guy's a genetic freak. The age that he is, I still think he's hurting himself by cutting down to middleweight. I think that he's lost those two very close encounters with Robert Whittaker where he's absorbed a lot of damage, but he's also gave out a shit ton of damage as well. Like he's taken years, I think, of Robert Whittaker, landed a lot of strikes, a lot of knockdowns, a couple of like in the two fights, I think it was 7 or 8 takedowns he had against Robert Whittaker, and still managed to lose the fight, which is kind of crazy. A lot of people gave him the last fight. I think I wouldn't complain. I gave it for Whittaker slightly, but yeah, the guy's a freak, and you cannot rest on your laurels with this guy at all. If you do, he will do what he did to Luke Rockhold. He will come out of nowhere with a freaking flying knee and take your chin and knock it into the 100th row in the rafters. So that's something you have to be super careful with. Sometimes I'm a little bit not disappointed, but I think he could push himself a little bit more. But obviously that weight cut to 145 is 145, 185 is very tough on him. And the age that he's at, he is going to struggle in those aspects. But when he does pressure, geez, he's a scary individual. And when you look at his opponent here and Paulo Costa, I really like this kid. 27 years old, an absolute beast with his striking. I think his defense is a little bit, it does lack a little bit, but he makes up with his personal, with his attacks. The one thing I love about the guy is he never takes a back step. He's always leading the dance. He's and that's something I love in fighters. If you can kind of dictate the pace of the fight and never move back, then you're going to win a lot of fights. The one thing I really like about him, I love his different combinations of striking. I especially love his attack of the body. Watch his fights, watch his body kicks, and watch his just he knows the perfect time to go for the body, and it's something he invests in. I love fighters that do that. I don't think we see enough people that attack the body and really shut down fighters through that. And if he does that against Yoel Romero, he could definitely slow down Yoel and take that explosiveness away from him. But his striking defense lacks a little bit. You've seen Uriah Hall execute a really perfect jab against him, and he landed that at will. But he was countering those shots to the body of Hall, and you could just see as that fight was going on. There was a couple of instances where he got hit in the nuts, an eye poke here and there, whatever it may be. But you could see the accumulation of the strikes was really taking their toll on him, and just really making it a very tough fight for him. And eventually he couldn't take it anymore. I think it was a body shot to an uppercut, knocked him out and got a beautiful knockout there. And it was the same with Johnny Hendricks as well there. He just never took a back step, and he just pushed Hendricks back. And I know that when you look at who he's faced, it's been a very quick ascension up the UFC rankings, but you can see why, because he's just an absolute brute of a guy to face. He really is. When you look at his first two fights, Gareth McLaren and Oluwale Bamboze, the one thing that I didn't like about those fights was, especially the Bamboze one, is that Bamboze got him down very momentarily. It's the same with Uriah Hall. He got him down, but he really did pop back to his feet very quickly. And that's something that Yoel could I think that's something that he should try and do. But I'm interested to see here if he can push Yoel Romero back, because if he can, then I think that, especially over 3 rounds, he could really win these rounds with his pressure, with his striking. But obviously, he has to be super careful, because Yoel could come out of nowhere at any time and hurt him. I can't believe I'm going against Yoel Romero here, but I'm going to pick Paulo Costa. I think that pressure and his output of striking is going to be a little bit too much for Yoel Romero. And I'm sat here thinking to myself, you're picking against Yoel freaking Romero. And I know I did it with Robert Whitaker a couple of times, and this kid's like not really faced a guy like Romero before, but I really like what I see from Paulo Costa, and this might just be the time here where he could take out maybe a Yoel Romero who's not super motivated. Where is he in this middleweight division? Does he really have to be here? He's just won a shed load of money, millions and millions of dollars. So what's his motivation? I think he should go to 205. I'd love to see him like John Jones against Yoel Romero, if that was to ever come to fruition. I've got Paulo Costa. I think this will be the first time he goes to decision in the UFC. It could potentially be very, very close. He has to really mind his P's and Q's. I'm going to go Paulo Costa via decision, if maybe even a knockout. But yeah, picking against Yoel Romero was not fun. But I think Paulo Costa's got all the tools to really beat a guy like Yoel. But we'll see. Yoel might come out and just be the elite wrestler that he is and take him down and just win the fight through that. But I'm going to go Paulo Costa for the upset there. Anthony Pettis against Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is back. And I honestly didn't think he was ever going to come back for another fight outside of Conor McGregor. I thought it was set in stone that he would only ever come back for that. But then there was obviously, if you watch the countdown to UFC 241, there's bad blood here with these two. They've wanted to fight each other in the past. They've wanted to get their hands on one another a long time ago, and there was obviously Showtime beat Gilbert Melendez, who's a very, very close friend of the Diaz brothers, and there was some stuff went down, I think, round about that fight where he was bad mouthing and he wants to fight the Wheaties guy, which is absolutely hilarious. But I am happy to see Nate Diaz back, because the guy's a draw. The guy's got a massive fan base behind him. He's got a fun, friendly fight style that you cannot not like. It's just a great style. But there's definite holes in his game which Anthony Pettis can absolutely capitalise on. Even if this was going back years ago, I still think he could do that. Moving up to 170, I think you can see that he's got some pop in his hands. That's helping him there. I've always thought his best strikes are with his kicks. I still think that. But if he can add big, powerful strikes, and not like he knocked out Wonderboy, nobody's seen that coming, or very few people seen that coming. And props to you if you did pick that. I'm the biggest Anthony Pettis fan. I did not see that coming one little bit. But what he did in that fight is that he attacked the legs of Wonderboy. He got him kind of immobilised on his feet. Compromise is a good word there, on the feet with the low kicks. And I just don't think Wonderboy thought he was going to pull something off like a Superman hook off the cage. Knocked him out silly. It was a very, very vicious knockout. And like he has moments in fights. The Kaiser fight, he stopped him there. The Tony Ferguson one, he dropped him there. But also, you've seen that if you can get off a game like Nate Diaz, if you can really attack him with like a lot of output, like Pettis to me, he's taken a lot of damage over his career, moving down to 145 and even 155. He's had numerous injuries, but he's always dangerous. I think this might be the best spot he's been in for a long time, honestly. And you've got Nate Diaz, who will he have ring rust? 3 years is a long time out. Especially after those two like emotional wins and losses against Conor McGregor way back in 2016. But we know what Nate's all about. Beautiful striking, tough, great jiu-jitsu. Pettis is a good, just a great taekwondo striker. Very adventurous with his striking, and you cannot lay you can't rest on your laurels at any time with that against Anthony Pettis. If you do, you could be looking up at the lights, kind of like what Joe Lozon did or what Benson Henderson did when he got submitted or whatever. He's a dangerous guy in every aspect with his jiu-jitsu, with his striking. And Nate Diaz has holes. He has holes. The Diaz brothers have never, ever checked low kicks. And you've seen that even McGregor was having numerous... he was landing numerous leg kicks in that fight. And that was a big part to his win there. Dos Anjos destroyed him with it. And Pettis can use leg kicks really, 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 really well. But I can see him taking some strikes in this one. I really do. If Nate Diaz turns up the way he did, like he did against Michael Johnson, and he starts getting in your head and he knows he's in your head, he can really put fighters off with that. He starts pointing, he starts laughing. I don't think he'd get in the head like Anthony Pettis there, but he might engage in a brawl. He might lure Pettis into a brawl with the emotion behind this fight where he could just turn the tide with his striking and start to hurt Anthony Pettis. I don't really see it too much. I think that Pettis is going to have a little bit too well of a rounded game on the feet for Nate Diaz right now. I think if Nate was maybe a couple of fights in and didn't take so much time off, but saying that, I don't think he's the type of guy that like literally leaves the sport. I think he's probably in the gym every day, but I'm going to pick Anthony Pettis. I think he could maybe knock out Nate Diaz with a high kick or something. But, yeah, I'm going to pick him via decision in that one there. Yeah, Anthony Pettis via decision. And the main event of the night, we've got the rematch. Daniel Cormier, Stipe Miocic. A lot of love for Stipe Miocic, actually. And I can see why. I think that... he started off that fight very well against Daniel Cormier, but there was a couple of instances in that fight where, like the eye poke, a lot of people are making a big thing of the eye poke, and I'm sure it kind of hindered him a little bit, but DC, like, he started off really well. He started throwing a lot of strikes and hit him with some really nice combinations, but he also, he got hit with a few shots. He was open there. I think he was a little bit too aggressive. I think if he stood back a little bit, he went at DC. I think if he, like you said, if he sat back a little bit more, he would have... I think if he started getting into those later rounds, then he could have started landing those good strikes that he's got, because he's got really good boxing, obviously the Golden Gloves background, and he has wrestling. Obviously DC's the more credentialed wrestler, but yeah, got caught with that short shot right up the middle when they were clinching, right hook, right uppercut, right on the chin, and like that short shot, you can obviously garner a lot of power with that, and that's what happened there, and knocked him out clean. Where Stipe was gripping, he was saying Mark Goddard made the right or wrong decision, and no, that was the right decision. Sorry, Stipe. He made the right decision there, and they haven't fought since. Stipe hasn't fought since, I should say. Where DC obviously had Derek Lewis back in November, I think it was. So, and he was obviously kind of pursuing that Brock Lesnar fight, to the money fight, which was obviously, I don't blame him for doing that, but I think the right fight is the rematch with Stipe. Stipe did enough with his title defences to get another crack at someone like DC. But I still struggle to see Stipe Miocic. Is it going to be any different? I don't know. I really liked Stipe, by the way. I picked him in that fight. I thought he would have really shown Daniel Cormier kind of what it's all about. But Cormier's just a bull at that in that division. I don't think he's ever lost at heavyweight, has he? So through his Strikeforce days and so on. And I think he'll be... When I watched Cormier in that fight, he looked big, but I don't think he looked like fit big. I think he's gonna look a little bit better than what he did in that fight. I know his physique's never been great at heavyweight, but I think he looked... I don't want to say this, but kind of fat, very, very kind of portly, very round. But he makes it work to his advantage. Very strong, great grappling and great wrestling. I think that's what he's going to try and do here, because I don't think he really wants to be in too many stand-up exchanges with someone like Stipe Miocic, because I think Stipe has the advantage with his overall striking. But with the wrestling, I do give Cormier a decent advantage there, even though Stipe comes from a wrestling background himself. But yeah, I'm going to go with Daniel Cormier. I'm seeing a lot of people go with Stipe Miocic. I wish you the best of luck, but I'm going to go with Daniel Cormier in this spot. I think that if it comes a kind of war of attrition like it did, and it was it was a lot of grappling, like holding on each other, and Cormier's a tough guy to kind of keep your hands on and so on. I think that he could potentially, if it goes in the middle part of this fight, could catch him with another shot again. I think Miocic is going to come a little bit different in this one. I'm interested to see how he comes at this one, but yeah, I think I've changed sides from the original fight where I was on Stipe, where I'm now on Daniel Cormier to kind of retain and win the second matchup between these two. So Daniel Cormier, TKO in the middle part of this fight, rounds 3 or 4 for me in that one there. So that's my picks for UFC 241. Sorry I've kind of rambled on a little bit there, 45 minutes. I've seen my karma. I was only trying to make this 30 minutes, but again, once I start talking, I just keep on going and going and going. So I hope that's okay for you guys that I've kind of rambled on a little bit. Please like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. I'm trying to get these, trying to hit 3,000 and we're not far away. We're like 90 away, which is awesome. If I get close to 200 likes here, it would be awesome, but anything over 100's I'm very happy with that. So yeah, I appreciate all the support, I really, really do, and go and support the other predictors out there because they're putting their time in for your enjoyment out there as well. So thank you so much. We've got a break. I'm actually really looking forward to having a week off, not watching any fights. Well, I'm going to be watching fights, who am I kidding? But we're going to be back for Shenzhen, UFC Shenzhen. We've got Jessica Andrade against Weili Zhang in the main event there for the belt. So until then, appreciate all the support, and I will see you all soon. Take care.